one of the things that everybody's talking about, like, boy, that ending though, shit.
Been dying to talk about it with people.
Boy, that was crazy. That's how people talk. They talk about, man, that was crazy. And it is probably one of the most insane endings to any movie, at least mainstream movie, that you will see this year. You either with it or you're not, but most people seem to be with it. I thought about this ending more over the weekend, and I love it even more. Excited to be returning to Chicago, performing at the Lincoln Lodge for the first time for my own brand of sit-down comedy. Get your tickets now by going to doubletoastedchicago.com, and I'll see you soon. So we just talked about how over the weekend, Weapons, new horror movie from Zach Cregger, is pretty much kicking ass. It's getting great reviews, people loving it, and it's killing at the box office.
The night before, at 2:17 in the morning, every kid woke up, walked downstairs, and into the dark.
Ooh, has a nice creepy setup. People are talking about how not just the horror in this movie works, but the drama, the performances. Everybody's talking about how it's a great script with a lot of twists and turns, and even a lot of funny moments in there. But one of the things that everybody's talking about, like, boy, that ending though, shit.
Been dying to talk about it with people.
Boy, that was crazy. That's how people talk. They talk about, man, that was crazy. And it is probably one of the most insane endings to any movie, at least mainstream movie, that you will see this year. You either with it or you're not, but most people seem to be with it. I thought about this ending more over the weekend, and I love it even more. I think it was a really bold thing to do. That was hard to pull off, and as far as I'm concerned, Zach Cregger did. And the reason why that ending, now we can just go ahead and talk about the ending of this movie. Everybody's seen it who's watching this. Everybody knows what this movie's about. And everybody knows that at the end of this movie, these kids lost their minds. Well, with breaking through people's houses, gardens, living rooms, and caught the villain of the movie, the witch who was causing all the torment in the town. She was responsible for the kids getting up at 2:17 in the morning and disappearing. Turns out she was dying, and I guess she was sucking their souls or their energy or
their youth or something.
And they caught up to our ass and tore that ass up. And so, I want to talk mostly about that ending, because I was saying last week I want to see how people respond to that ending. I want to know what people think about that, because the ending is actually played up for laughs, at least that part right there. It's filmed comically. It's done in a way where the reactions of people to it in the movie is for laughs. Even Pixie's down there laughing right now. You can hear her. That's not coughing. That's dog laughter going on. She didn't even see the movie. Just talking about it is hilarious to her. It's so over the top. It's so outrageous. Yeah, a lot of people, and I keep hearing from people emailing me saying, man, I laughed so hard at that ending, which they didn't expect for a horror movie. I want to talk about, now that people have seen it and more people than not are really loving that ending, I want to talk about why it worked. Also, we'll talk about some other things in the movie. I know there's some other spoilery things to talk about. You're going to say something, huh?
When you said they lost their mind, I was going to say, well, their minds were actually stolen and just part of it was given back. And that's when hell broke loose.
Yeah, emphasis on part of it.
Part of it, yeah.
Because those kids woke up, I'm like, that bitch. Hey, there she is. Get her. Now, that scene was funny. Of course, the movie just came out. Don't have any clips or anything. But, man, I laughed so hard because her ass was running.
Yeah, because there's that point of realization, like, oh shit.
Yeah, she's running through people's houses. And the reason why I talk about the technical aspect of it, because the camera's behind her the whole time. And it's just her like, stop, get away from me. And they're like, oh no.
With that stampede of children.
And those kids just busting through people's windows and houses.
Yeah.
And
that part where they run through the house, like the family's reaction is like, what just happened?
Yeah, so many people.
It's like they've already run through and they're there and like everything's torn up.
And so out in the front, there's a woman who's torn to pieces. And these people are like, that bitch. What about my house?
Right.
Because there's some people like, did you see what they did to the floor? They made the windows.
awesome.
People are like, where the fuck these kids come from? I laugh so hard at that, man. I think, and Zach Cregger comes from a comedy background.
Yeah.
So I can see where he would bring in humor into this. But, I want to talk about this ending and why it worked, because it is such a sudden change of tone. You're going from this movie that's been mostly a drama, and then you get to some of the horror parts with a bit of humor in there, but then they just turn into an all-out comedy by this part right here. And then, you brought up a point where it's like, and still it's not. No, it's a sad ending still.
Yeah,
it's not a happy ending.
When it leaves you, it basically is saying like, yeah, all these kids were lobotomized to different degrees and then lived their life like that.
Yeah, well, some recovered, some not. I mean, like the full-on comedy for the ending, I don't know that it completely worked for me, just because I was so steeped in the drama and how tragic and sad all this was. But I did like the very end, that it wasn't like, well, now the switch is turned and everything's back to normal.
Yeah.
No, there's after effects felt
there's
throughout
lasting
this town.
damage from this.
Yeah, these people, like they talk about the parents. If you saw the movie, they're being fed soup by their kid, because the aunt, who's the witch who moved into the house, has pretty much made them brain dead, and they didn't recover from that. They say they're being fed by soup. They're being fed soup by somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
But here's what I want to start on right here. So I think that the ending is so good, that this is so crazy right here with these kids and them tearing this woman apart, that this is the benefits of ending strong with a movie. You don't think about the plot holes, because I was starting to tell you about some plot holes in the movie, and I think that one of the biggest ones, and I was going to mention this in my review, but I just forgot. So all these kids get up at 2:17 in the morning and leave the house. 17 kids. So now this is a nitpick, which is another reason why I probably didn't say anything. But so not one person got up and said, hey, what the hell is going on? Saw that kid leave. Also, all these.
No, you said that during the review. Remember, you said you'd be coming home with a Whataburger, and you're like, well, kids running down the street.
Yeah, if they're in my neighborhood, I would have saw them clearly.
Yeah.
Hey, what the I would have been drunk. I would have been drunk, but I would have sobered up real quick. But, they saw these kids leave. They got video of them.
The Ring cameras.
Yeah, the Ring cameras. So you mean everybody saw where the kids were going, but no one saw where they went? Because they're still in the neighborhood.
Oh, yeah. That's right. There weren't other cameras being checked to see where they go. Yeah.
And I'm sure there was one camera pointed towards that house that they went into.
It is funny that only Josh Brolin was the only one to say, well, let me map this out.
Yeah.
Because the police are all like, listen, little amateur detective, we're working on this. We got this in hand. We're doing everything. And he shows that like, no, you weren't.
No, because it's easy.
Yeah.
Let's go get something. You got Ring footage. So, I mean, somebody should have seen them going into this house. At least one kid or one house should have caught it. But, hey, look, but the movie's flowing so well. Yeah. And everything is you're engrossed in this story so much that you don't really notice that. Mm-hmm. And even if you are, by the end of it, it ends on such a high note that I don't think you go back and even worry about that little detail.
I can see where you're coming from, but that doesn't bother me. Like, that made sense that no one would have had that footage to me, but I can see that complaint.
Yeah, I'm not, and like I said, I wasn't complaining. It's just something I thought about. And if the movie kept my mind off of that detail, which it's kind of an obvious one, if it kept me off of that for most of the movie because everything else was so good, okay, that's fine. I think that in the movie, the real reason why I think that this works is because I think Zach Cregger is such a good writer and a storyteller that everything that leads up to that ending not only makes you forget about those details that I'm talking about or those nitpicks I'm talking about, but it also leads up to a much deserved moment right here. And that's what I was talking about in the review when I said, this movie leads up to a very logical and satisfying conclusion. Amy Madigan, who plays the witch in this movie, they showed just, she's this violent person, yes, with her powers, but she's just not violent with it. Man, she's just cruel. Yeah. She watched a guy's head be caved in and acted very nonchalant about it, didn't care. Or maybe she even enjoyed it a little bit. Because she kind of relished seeing the parents stick themselves with a fork.
Mm-hmm.
It sounded like she kind of wanted to do more. She said, I can make them eat themselves.
Yeah.
No, I wish you would give me a reason. That's what she said to the little boy,
Mm-hmm.
so he wouldn't rat her out.
Yeah, the way she talked about it was like she's done that before.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. She probably has like a big history of doing just really vile and grotesque things. And yeah, it almost seemed like she enjoys that. And she ruined so many people's lives in the town. She ruined the town. Literally weaponizing these people, as they say. That's why the movie's called Weapons.
Sure.
I was going to ask that, yeah.
Yeah, these people, Josh Brolin in the movie, who plays the character of Archer, says when he sees Benedict Wong's character, he's like, he was weaponized for some reason. He's ruined so many lives, ruined these children's lives. The after effects are going to be felt from this. This death was satisfying because she had it coming.
Yeah, she had to go.
Yeah, she had it coming, and to see her get torn apart at the end was more than satisfying for some people, because we see a lot of villains who don't get it the way they deserve.
Mm-hmm.
And I was happy to see her get it that way, man.
Especially, the way she got it.
And it was from her own making.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that is true. And I think that's part of the deal, man, with this change in tones. If we're all laughing and this has turned into a comedic bit, I think it worked because we're all cheering on this woman's death now.
Mm-hmm.
And when people are cheering and people are getting the satisfaction that they want, they don't mind laughing either at that moment. Tear that bitch up. Because it does seem like a big conflict with the rest of the movie, but somehow, some way it worked. Now, it didn't work for everybody, but some way it worked for most people out there. Also, it was still freaky.
Yeah, well, it's similar to, how'd you feel about the ending of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
Yeah, that one I didn't like.
Yeah,
I didn't like.
But part of that was that it went to a comedy route. Like, it started out very seriously, and then suddenly it's comedic.
You know what? I think the difference is that, again, this movie, that's why I say Zach Cregger is such a great storyteller, because there was a lead up to this. Yeah. We saw this woman do these vile acts. We saw this woman do these terrible things. And Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, there was no lead up to that scene, really. Yeah. I mean, we know the history of the Manson family, and that's all, but there's nothing there that's any kind of storytelling or subplot or anything that leads up to that moment. That's why I said it just seems like I'm Tarantino, now it's time for me to get crazy and violent. Yeah. But the other thing is that this isn't a complete change of tone. I mean, it was a horrible, gruesome thing they did to the woman. It was deserved, but it still has its roots in horror, or its foot in horror, because you see her head being ripped apart.
But, it had been humorous leading up to that. Like, we got our whole segment with James the Junkie.
And with him and that cop. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's true.
And it was also, the ending itself is like a great moment of them kind of explaining things without doing too much. Because that's what I was worried about. I was like, please don't have that moment where someone tries to explain all this. Like, they amped it up a little bit, and then you see it happen, and then that's when all the kids go nuts.
Yeah. No, that is true. They just dropped enough mystery and let you piece it all together to where not only do you find out what's happening, but then when you find out what's happening, it's like, no, what the hell with this bitch. Yeah. So at this point, to see her get it, and like I said, it was just filmed really well, man.
Because there's a lot of tension in that scene. Like, he's making a quick decision to do this, like when they're making those Shining references of the parents sticking their finger in the door. And he's just breaks that stick.
Man, that scene with those parents chasing that kid through the hallway.
Yeah.
That so I mentioned in the review, that was probably the most horrifying thing in the movie to me.
There was something they did with these actors' eyes. It's like, how did you capture that? Like, it looks like fake eyeballs, but they're real. Like the thumbnail for the review with Wong's eyes. It looks insane.
I like that. I like that they look weird like that.
I just want to know how they did it.
Yeah, the whole thing with the parents. First of all, they have no mind on. They're zombified, and they're chasing that kid through the hallway and everything. Yeah, man, that's what I meant by. That's one of the most terrifying and nightmarish things for a kid. Your parents to turn on you like that,
especially when you're trying to save them. So, did this feel like a Stephen King story to you guys?
A little bit.
Yeah,
I can see that.
Yeah, I can see that because Stephen King centers on small towns,
Mhm.
very character driven,
Mhm.
kids in here.
Yeah, yeah, and some super evil supernatural force that's slowly poisoning everything.
Yeah, no, man, I didn't even think about it at first, but now that you mention it, definitely can see that.
Mhm.
Now that I'm talking about something, because the movie worked for the most part. If I would just come in and say, if I had any kind of nitpicks about it, one thing would be, so this witch came into town to take these kids and didn't want to be known by anybody. She wanted to keep a low key. So why is she popping up in people's dreams? Justines and Archers. Even though Archer had a funny scene, he woke up like, what the f-?
Yeah, he's in the bed. Yeah, he's like,
That was funny.
yeah, that was awesome.
No, I just wondered, I think, and the reason why I bring this up, because I think those moments in the movie are more obligatory hard jump scare scenes.
Yeah.
I don't think that they lend anything to the story.
Mhm.
I don't think they're needed really.
Right.
I don't think they make sense, to be honest with you. But like I said, I think the movie's great. I'm not complaining about it.
Stuff like that for me added to like the mystery. Like when people were asking me like what this movie's about, I just told them like there's classic, ideas. Like there's like a Frankenstein sort of thing. I mean, it's a witch, but like I was being vague. And stuff like witchy stuff happens. So like them seeing her in their nightmares, that sort of like was like a cursed thing playing up for me.
Okay, I can see that. It didn't make sense to me, but I can see that.
Yeah, I don't know why his face is painted like the Joker, but
Well, because her face is painted like that,
Yeah.
which again is like why I just didn't get that.
I mean, maybe it's just her presence that just throws that off because she's in the town.
that could be it too.
Other people could have been having those nightmares. I mean, it's not on screen, so I'm just speculating. So,
Yeah.
But what I'm saying doesn't count.
No, I get it. I mean, that's good speculation. I mean, the movie has a lot of mystery stuff that's not explained.
and the biggest
It didn't make
question-
sense to me, but I get if other people want to rationalize it and think somehow.
And the biggest question I had was in one of those nightmare scenes
What's that?
when the rifle is above the house and it has 217 on it. I couldn't put my finger on why he did that, but some stuff I looked up that I'll mention later kind of made it make sense.
Well, you can mention it now.
Yeah, I mean, I just saw that. When I saw that, I was like, I guess like 217 is when you pulled the trigger. But if you look online, people are discussing this movie, like the whole thing with 217 and that gun, that shot. Someone on TikTok, they had this explanation where they basically wrote out a specific instance where 217 members of the U.S. House of Representatives voted against a measure related to preventing gun violence in schools. Occurred August 1st, 2022. So,
Yeah, I was talking about that with James, and I don't know, there's nothing that's official about that. I don't know if that's part of the movie, but it is an interesting observation.
Yeah, it's an interesting angle because I never associated school shootings with this, but I appreciate that allegory being associated with this movie.
Yeah. So some of my favorite characters in the movie, it's gonna seem like I'm complaining, and I'm not, but I love the cop. The cop.
Yeah.
I love the cop who's played by
Alden Ehrenreich.
Alden Ehrenreich.
Paul,
and-
right?
Paul. Yeah, Paul. And James the Junkie. Junkie James over here. I love those characters, but I was talking to James about this today, and he brought up an observation saying they had an entertaining segment in the movie. They both kind of had their own segment, and then when they got together, it was very funny. It got even funnier with them. They're kind of a funny comedy duo together. But did they really need that much time in the movie? Like if you had taken them out or if you reduced their time?
Well, when I talked about feeling the length, I think that's part of it. Is that, and it's like a brilliant thing that's awesome. It's fun. It's entertaining, but it slows the pace of the overall thing because it's almost like it's an aside. Like all the humor stuff, just what we saw from them before they had their own segment together. It was all working. It was all flowing.
Yeah. Because now this is James saying it's not me, and I can kind of see what he's saying. I'm not saying it like, man, that's him, ain't me. No, I don't want to take credit for what he's saying.
Yeah,
and especially if he's editing this, he's gonna be like, hey, wait a minute, he stole my shit. No, he said that it seemed like they had all this time spent on them just for them to become henchmen at the end of the movie. Yeah. And maybe you didn't need that much time.
Right.
So it's really hard for me because I like those characters a lot, and I laughed hard at their stories, and I enjoy watching them. So maybe from a first time watch, that's good. But if I was to watch it again, I'd be like, you probably don't need these two.
Don't need those two
as much as as much as they are in there.
I think that James's character is pretty important because he's the person who actually like tells the police, like that their kid's in that house. So the movie is kind of written in a way where those scenes are necessary, but maybe it could have been written where those characters weren't as important.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say take his character out because you're right. He does find the house, and there's so much that happens with him early on. But there's so much it's a lot with him and the two of them for that segment that didn't need to be there.
Yeah.
Or could have not been there.
We get a lot of Paul's background that really doesn't play anything into the movie.
Mhm.
Yeah, his wife is like totally not important.
Yeah, his father, or his father-in-law
Yeah.
being the chief.
Yeah, with all that, I was very interested. Is like, oh, how's this going to come back around? And it just doesn't.
Yeah, yeah. But again, the movie ends on a big punch and a big entertainment. So a lot of people, I think that's if you learn a lesson from this, you can get away with a lot, or people won't think about a lot if your movie ends strong. Oh, a couple people actually wrote some emails about the movie in regards to the spoiler talk that we're doing right now. Oh, this is from Sprite Lee. Hey, what's up to you all? And the people in the chat, my squad in the chat. Watching your review on weapons, and I have some personal thoughts. How do you hide the smell from that house? 18 kids and 2 parents pissing, shitting, standing up in a basement. There was no way you could hide that smell. It's impossible for that little boy to clean that every night. Maybe he was. He was probably wiping his parents' ass and everything.
It wasn't that long, right? Because the way that I read it was like, this was like not even really a week. Because remember when they noticed the house is abandoned? There's like 5 newspapers in the front. So it's like, all right, that was just a couple of days.
So good looking out.
But then, so it wasn't that long, but it seemed like that town got over it pretty quick, if that's the case. Because it seemed like from the reaction of the town that this went on for a while. Like they've been looking for these kids for like a month or so.
It did feel long.
So I think it might have been longer than a week because, I think a month passed.
Okay.
Yeah, because they were looking for these kids for a while.
Maybe
it was longer than a week.
Maybe they used up those newspapers to cover up the windows, I guess.
Oh,
and those were just
Yeah. I think if I recall in the movie, it was at least a month.
Okay.
So, man might have a point. Maybe the kid was cleaning them up every day. I mean, shit, you do anything with which, threatens to have your parents eat each other.
Yeah, that kid seemed pretty broken and he was doing a lot. Yeah. We didn't need to see him like mopping up shit.
No.
Second, that kid and his family would have been under a microscope. You're telling me there's only 2 people in the junkie in a town full of people that actually investigated that kid's house? I enjoyed the movie, not trying to hate, just quick thoughts. Thanks for the time, fellas, and I will always see you in the chat. Your boy, Sprite Lee.
I thought that too.
No, that does make sense. That's a valid question. Ryan Hamilton wants to know, is this a plot hole in the movie? When people are in the frozen state, they can be fed food. Okay, when do they pee and shit? Probably right there.
Okay, this again.
People are really stuck on this peeing and shitting, man. Again, valid question.
Do you care how someone smells if they're running at you trying to kill you? No, you don't.
But if they're sitting there all day, I'm going to say that the witch said you better clean this shit up, and that's what happened.
Or maybe that's part of the spell that you don't piss or shit.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Who knows? I'm going to say the kid cleaned it up. Kid's doing a lot of work.
Yeah, but was he undressing them and doing their laundry too, and then dressing them all back again? All 17 of them.
I think that kid went around that house with an apron. He worked that kid to death. Hey man, like I said, you do anything if a witch is threatening your ass. So if you really want to go, because listen, the movie could probably explain it if they wanted to, but how do you explain the parents not being at work?
Yeah.
Who's paying the bills?
Who's paying the bills, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, magic. She had a spell for all that. The kids did not wake up in that scene. The son, okay, let's see this, the weapons ending explainer. The kids did not wake up in that scene. The son uses the same spell as the witch and then controlled them and told them to go after the witch. They weren't awake. They were still under a spell. They were under his control at that moment. I enjoy the ending, but I think they should have extended it a little bit longer, showing some of the after effects. Also, it seemed like it was an analogy for school shootings, as you said right there. And the witch was, we mentioned who she was. Ed Harris's wife, for one thing, and she's been in a lot of 80 movies, including, let me see here, she was also Uncle Buck's girlfriend.
I was going to say that.
And there she is right there. And there she is right there, about to sell a Happy Meal. The movie is clearly an allegory for school shootings, says harsh language.
How so?
And how children are being victimized by older generations who make policy. And also how incidents like this will take hold of a town. I guess school shootings in the sense that school shootings, they really they hurt towns.
It's a good point. Sandy Hook will never be the same.
Yeah. So this isn't a shooting, but it's an incident that involves children who were being violated. It was cool that it focused on different individuals to show how each person is largely affected despite them feeling meaningless.
Yeah.
This movie feels like a classic return to classic horror. Having comedic elements, not a ton of exposition to over-explain the evil. That's what I liked about it.
Yeah.
Too, yeah.
Slow burn pacing instead of hyper fast-paced TikTok editing.
Oh, I did like that.
Yeah. All of which we see we see a lot in the genre in recent years. Yeah. So, there you go. Well, would you look at that? You made it to the end of the video. That means you really like us. So just go ahead and press that like button and subscribe while you're at it. And check out our other channels, our social media like Instagram, TikTok, and our Patreon where we have new stuff coming up all the time. And we'll see you on the next video.